Mr. Kenyatta, Council K. Mr. K, the floor is over to you. You have half an hour.
Thank you. We're just fixing up the technicalities on the side here because we have some electronic images to play. These proceedings arise from a course of conduct connected and commenced by senior ODM politicians and activists before the December 2007 elections in Kenya, in which they were determined to cry that if they lost the election, then it was stolen from them. Their cries were not to be made by a plea to the judicial process for an orderly and proper challenge in the courts to the validity of the electoral results. No, their cries were to be to their supporters as a call to arms to attack their political opponents and to create such civil disturbance and violence so as to make Kenya ungovernable and cause the elected government to surrender and enable them to take power. This technique of challenging the democratic process by such means is not new. It was witnessed in Ukraine in 2004 when another orange democratic movement carried out precisely the same strategy. This was a copycat production that was organized with foreign assistance, not for the benefit of Kenya, but for the benefit of those senior ODM politicians. Let us see a press conference held by ODM's leader, Raila Odinga, on the 13th of November 2007. Play EVD 00205, ringtail 0008.
Your Honor, for the record, I'll advise everyone to remain on PC1 channel to be able to view this video. Thank you.
As America's most ruthless political consultant. Accredited with engineering Bill Clinton's election and re-election as governor of Arkansas, Dick Morris was seen as the principal architect of the re-election of President Bill Clinton in 1996. He worked with the little-known United Kingdom Independence Party in the 2004 European elections, helping them to win 12 of Britain's 78 seats in the European Parliament. He was also the campaign consultant to Viktor Yushchenko's presidential campaign in Ukraine in 2004 in the so-called Orange Revolution.
For most of the world, he is best known for the role he played in 1996 re-election of the US President Bill Clinton.
Morris says the job is purely voluntary and will attract no payments from ODM.
I met with Dick in New York during a recent visit, and I was absolutely thrilled when he said he would be willing to come and help us here.
I told him that I would work in his campaign pro bono for free, and I'm going to do that.
The man who's written 12 bestsellers on how to run a successful campaign is already exuding confidence.
I think we're going to win this election.
Morris will be assisted by another consultant, Louis Rezoles. The development coming just a day before the formal presidential nominations is likely to inject a new dimension into the already charged political campaigns, where propaganda is already the stock in trade.
The media was a willing tool in the hands of ODM for propaganda and enabled statements to be reported that prepared the way for the conflict to erupt. Before the election, there was a preparation of the ground by Raila Odinga when on the 24th of December 2007 he made several false allegations to incite his supporters and eventually cause the conflict. Play EVD 00208, ringtail 0020.
People of Kenya, as I've said many times, will not accept the result of rigged elections. people of Kenya are waiting with a lot of eagerness for the time to arrive when they are going to exercise their democratic right. I want to at the same time give confidence to all of them that the people's determination can never be thwarted by a few bands of hired goons or thugs. I want members to know that we will have contingency measures to deal with rigging at the polling stations, also at the tallying centers. We know, of course, that through this scheme, the government intends to interfere with the communication network. That I also pointed out yesterday, that you can notice that they already began to partially interfere with the communication, particularly the mobile telephone. But we are told that on the particular day, they are going to jam the networks so that agents may not be able to communicate with the headquarters.
The court can see two other media clips at this time in the same vein within the defence evidence. EVD 00206. As we know, the election results did not favour Mr. Odinga, and he cried a stolen election, just as Mr. Morris's other candidates from Orange also did in the Ukraine in 2004. Copying those events on the 31st of December 2007, the move was now on to try and seize power by a challenge on the streets, calling for mass action. Play EVD 00214, ringtail 0031.
Therefore, the people of Kenya have suffered a setback, but eventually they will succeed. 2 steps forward, 1 step backward. This is just 1 step backward. We have therefore resolved that one, we want to appeal to the people of Kenya to be patient, to handle themselves with dignity as they've done in the past, to desist from any acts of hooliganism or thuggery that will tarnish the image of our cause. But we also want to say that in the number of cases that we have received, it is not the people, but the government through the security forces that are actually provoking the people and that are actually shooting the people at will. And therefore we are going to call for mass action, countrywide, peaceful mass action, peaceful demonstration. And we will basically be demanding that the right to the people, the will of the people of Kenya must be respected by this government. We had called for a meeting to take place today, but as you all know, the media was completely muzzled, particularly the local media. The information did not reach all the people. All the information that went out went by word of mouth. What we are therefore saying that we are going to have a bigger meeting in Nairobi. 1 million people meeting at Uhuru Park on Thursday, Thursday the 3rd of January. And we are inviting our people to come to Uhuru Park. The police are being notified immediately after this, as is required by law, that this meeting is going to take place.
This was a concerted act of pressure on that day and utterly misleading in the content of the statement. It was complete rubbish to say the government, through security forces, are actually provoking people and are actually shooting people at will, and therefore we are going to call for mass action. It is a clear fact of the prosecution case. It was the ODM supporters who were taking vengeance on PNU supporters and their communities at this time. This strategy was now unfolding and delivering civil insurrection. Let us see the effect of these words caught by a TV report on the 3rd of January. Play EVD 00223, ringtail 0046.
Odinga, who narrowly lost the elections, is calling for a massive protest on Thursday. Paula Newton reports, and we warn you, her report contains images you may find disturbing.
It's rage in the raw and on the rampage. Machetes, the weapons of choice, and there is no end in sight to the bloodletting. This is Kenya's worst political violence in more than 20 years. Dozens more have been killed and wounded on Wednesday. Tens of thousands have fled their homes to escape the carnage as tribal tensions boiled over. Homes, buildings, and businesses were burned. Supporters of the opposition saying they will stop at nothing. They will bring down the ruling party. The government, though, is equally defiant, giving security forces shoot-to-kill orders. At issue, the outcome of an election, but at stake now, Kenya's very future.
We are saying no Raila, no peace. There will be no peace in Kenya unless Raila is the president of Kenya.
Raila, as he is called here, is opposition leader Raila Odinga. Over and over, he told CNN he will not abandon his right to the presidency, no matter how bad things get.
Not at all. I'm not encouraging them. I don't own them. These are people of a country, and they're seeing themselves robbed.
These words, we are saying no Raila, no peace, and there will be no peace in Kenya unless Raila is the president, was a rallying call to arms repeated on the streets. At a time of violent conflict, calling for 1 million people to demonstrate in Uhuru Park, Nairobi, on the 3rd of January was an act of challenge and incitement, thus adding to the incendiary atmosphere and putting great pressure on the police. This was described in such terms in a newspaper report on the 3rd of January. To see this, Your Honours, EVD 00226, ringtail 0049. We've considered now the language of the leader of the ODM, Raila Odinga. What then was Uhuru Kenyatta saying? Before the election, this is an example of his language, in the heat of the election on the date 21st of December 2007. And it may help counsel for the victims, Mr. Anya, to learn more about Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta. Can you play EVD 00058, ringtail 0127? The translation of this is at EVD 00379, ringtail 0009, and it's this. All of us want to be recognized as Kenyans, and we are saying that Kenya should be one, and everyone should feel free to go anywhere they like. We also want policies that will uplift the state of the citizens and not policies taking people back to 1900s. At the time of the disputed election results on the 1st of January, in a PNU press conference with Mutula Kilonzo, Uhuru Kenyatta wants an end to the violence that has broken out, and he cautions on the dangers. Play EVD 00077, ringtail 0156.
I want to say this with certainty, that the time for closure has come. This country must move forward, and it must move forward in a manner that ensures peace.
We cannot look back but must look forward as we are on the brink.
It is the prosecution case that Uhuru Kenyatta and the PNU party did not cause this violence. The violence was started by the ODM, who had been inciting to challenge the election results. Let us go back to what was said, though, by Raila Odinga in that first week of violence on the 3rd of January 2008, and which we submit misled certain Kenyans and the world community at the time as to these events. He is outside the Masaba Hospital. Play EVD 00228, ringtail 0056.
What we have seen actually defies description. We can only describe it as genocide on a grand scale. We've seen so many dead kids, children, cut with pangas. We've seen bodies that have been decimated by fire. We've seen people whose bodies are riddled with bullets. And we have been saying that what is happening right now in our country is nothing short of genocide. And this is being done mainly by the police officers. And a gang, it's a terrorist gang known as Mungiki, which has been around for a long time. It's supposed to be banned gang, but it is connected to the political class, which is now sitting in State House as we are talking right now. One of them, Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta, is the principal master. Another one called Njaga Karume, who is the Minister for Defense.
It goes on to say it's not a tribal violence, this is genocide being conducted by the political class illegally sitting in State House. It is not ethnic. This TV interview on the 3rd of January was calculated to mislead and misrepresent to Kenyans and the world what was actually happening. What is significant is this: there was no genocide, and certainly not against the supporters of Mr. Odinga. It was a cunning lie because it diverted attention away from the acts of violence of his ODM supporters, which had been fueled and primed before the election and after the election. This diversion publicly blamed others, including the police, who were blameless in these events. It is the first time State House, Mungiki, Uhuru Kenyatta were mentioned. But these were actually the whispered prompts of a planned misrepresentation, and you can hear on this tape the suggestions coming to him as to what he should say. And they were lies. No one else was responsible at that time for any violence other than the supporters of the man standing in the clip and pointing his finger. Months later, Mr. Odinga apologised to Njenga Karume for saying that. The court can see EVD 00544, ringtail 0729. But what did it do? It pressed panic buttons and set a story rolling that was not based on truth, but tainted the character of an innocent man, Uhuru Kenyatta. What was Uhuru Kenyatta doing in fact? He was in fact seeking resolution through the democratic process. Let's see the newspaper clip for the 2nd of January 2008 from the People. Show EVD 00080, ringtail 0159. Uhuru Kenyatta is reported as saying this in the clip: ODM should accept the invitation to dialogue, saying engaging each other on the way forward does not in any way compromise the possibility of challenging the results in court. If our colleagues are not satisfied and follow due process, we will be more than willing to file our defence. There is a process in which the outstanding issues should be resolved, but our position is that in the interim we must stop the bloodshed. In a press conference filmed on the same day, he emphasises the democratic initiatives. Can we play EVD 00083, ringtail 0163?
We are not interested in talking to Kibaki without an international mediator.
This result actually is democracy possibly at its best. PNU currently has the executive, and ODM has a majority in parliament. How is President Kibaki going to operate without having dialogue with those who have a majority in parliament?
Dialogue was what he wanted, not retaining power at any cost. Certainly not at the expense of innocent lives. Let us look at the Daily Nation on the 11th of January 2008 to see that message of peace and conciliation still there. Show EVD 00105, ringtail 0244. And while it's coming up, I'll read it out. We're not hostile to talking to our colleagues in ODM, but we did insist that it's paramount to us that there is peace in our country and an end to the killings and the destruction of property that we have seen. Dialogue is not engaged through the streets. Dialogue suggests that people resolve peacefully over the table and not through throwing stones, destroying property and killing innocent Kenyans. Uhuru Kenyatta was striving for peace. We have evidence, fortunately traced by us, not shown and disclosed to the judges at any stage, that utterly contradicts the prosecution case before this court. You will see in our 4-hour presentation to come a full clip of him addressing a hostile crowd in Kikuyu for 15 minutes wanting to attack their neighbours. He persuades them not to. You see this and you realise this case does not make sense. Uhuru Kenyatta went on a peace tour, other evidence not put before your honours. A tour in which he persuaded people not to act like the other side. Those very words were used by him. These words would not have been said if he was inciting violence. This campaign by him was on the TV, radio and in the streets. We've collected those materials together and provided them for you. Let's go to Tigoni now on the 30th of January. He is upholding the rule of law. Play EVD 00123, ringtail 0271.
Gatanga MP Peter Kenneth was earlier in the Tigoni Limuru area. And later Uhuru Kenyatta also made his presence felt. Interjecting his pleas with tough talking, all the while his frustration evident. But at the end of the day, making his point clear that this has to stop. The rule of law must be followed.
On the 1st of February, at a tea factory in Tigoni, he protects worried workers. Play EVD 00130, ringtail 0279.
Kana kufua dafu.
Hakuna mtu ambaye anafukuzwa kwa sababu yule ambaye atataka kubaki, na mimi nimesema kwa ukweli, na bwana DC hakikisha ya kwamba kila shamba hapa iko na askari ya kutosha, ndio wale ambao wataona ya kwamba watataka kubaki waweze kubaki wakiwa na usalama.
The transcript is at EVD 00391, ringtail 0116. It says this: "No one is being chased away because the one who would like to remain, and I am telling the truth, and Mr. District Commissioner, ensure that every farm has enough police officers so that those who feel that they want to remain are able to remain safely." These are not the words of a man taking revenge against people in order to retain power. So how has it come about that he has been brought here? There has been a clear political decision by the prosecution to bring 3 people from each side and put them on trial, to make a case fit against both sides, to construct a case without a proper investigation of the evidence and with complete disregard of the facts. Why do I say that? Not a single person who was with Uhuru Kenyatta in January to February 2008 has been interviewed by the prosecutor to find out what he said and what he did. Not a single person who worked with him from January to February 2008 has been interviewed by the prosecutor to find out what he said and what he did. Not a single one of those exculpatory media clips of what he said and did were presented to you, the judges, by the prosecution. Not a single person who attended meetings he went to, places he went to, in his efforts to solve and prevent the crisis that befell Kenya, was interviewed. He offered to be questioned in response to a letter by the OTP, and that offer was not taken up. No checks have been made on the truthfulness of 3 key protected witnesses upon whom the whole prosecution case is based. The prosecutor has deliberately shielded his evidence from the witness stand in these proceedings to avoid their exposure. At the first and only status conference, we were told the prosecution would call 10 live witnesses. Well, where have they gone? What would they have said and looked like live? The case has been built on the truthfulness of those 3 protected witnesses. However, 2 of them, numbers 11 and 12, were first interviewed by the defence team in 2011, and they gave a fully exculpatory account to that now relied upon by the prosecution. It utterly contradicts the account that they have tried to advance in this court today based on those statements. Those protected witnesses, numbers 11 and 12, then attempted to extort money from my defence team and offered to pervert the course of justice, but they were thrown out of our offices. They then moved on to another defence witness, whom we're calling to testify, and attempted to extort and blackmail him. He, in fact, knows exactly where they were during this conflict and what they were doing, as he came across them several times in circumstances that utterly contradict their statements to the prosecutor. In pursuit of money, which has been their sole motivation, they discovered the ICC prosecutor offered better packages than we did. So that is where they went, to provide a lying and utterly false account. Not a single fact within their statements has the prosecutor sought to corroborate. I guarantee that their truthfulness has not been investigated. If that were to happen, the prosecutor would meet only disappointment. That is a clear sign of desperation to construct a case. In 15 days that the defence had from the disclosure of these statements, we were able to investigate their background and took a statement from a key witness, the same witness referred to by the Mathara team. And in that account, there is a complete denial of the testimony or statements made by him in relation to allegations put to the prosecutor by those two witnesses. So no wonder we're not hearing from them today. Why wasn't this man, who is central to their accounts, interviewed to check whether he had anything to say about their truthfulness? Again, the third protected witness in this case has an account motivated apparently by his desire for a life abroad and living in luxury. Again, the central character to his account has been interviewed by the defence and utterly disproved that man's statement. You'll hear more of that later. His account of events totally contradicts what that witness says. Not only that, the events that we're able to prove happened contradict him as to what took place on particular days in these meetings alleged by the prosecutor, as we can see, forming the total basis of his case. The prosecutor has relied upon generic accounts to establish liability of people hearing Uhuru Kenyatta did this or did that, or saying he did this or did that. One would have thought that it was in the interests of this court and the prosecution to establish exactly what he said and what he did, but that hasn't happened. The whole proceedings here arise from the prosecutor's own investigation. That is why we are here. That is why this filter process at the confirmation hearing needs to be a rigorous and careful exercise, however embarrassing that might be for the court, so as to prevent a miscarriage of justice. In your consideration of the issues to permit the investigation and consideration of the issuance of the summonses, if the material we have put before you as part of our disclosure for these proceedings had been included, what then would have happened to this case? I will tell you, it would have been thrown out. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kay. Now we approach the team of Mr. Ali, who is going to take the floor for the opening statements. Mr. Kiho or Mr. Monari?
Madam President, you are quite right. Mr. Kiho and myself